What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Spanko, and today I'm back with another video. Now today's video is not a banlist prediction video. I know you guys probably expected a banlist prediction video. It's not going to be a banlist prediction video, but I did want to talk about something else, and it does involve the ban list. What I wanted to talk about is basically the idea that this ban list that is rumored to come out by like the 20th according to other YouTubers and inside sources and whatnot. This ban list essentially will not do anything to change the game, and it does not and will not have the effect that people think it's going to have. Now, me personally, I've been tired of this format. We've seen Striker since May of 2018. We're in 2020. As of recording this video, it's January 16th, 2020. Yeah. 2 years of Striker format. Obviously, it hasn't been the #1 deck for 2 straight years, but Engage as an engine with Hornet drones and whatnot has been splashed into many decks, different variants of decks, and basically Striker has been around for 2 years. Orcus has been around for I think a year now, as well as something like Salad. So Salad, Striker, and Orcus has been around for over a year, 2 years for Striker. We have not seen the meta change at all whatsoever. The only thing that's changed is basically the different variations of the decks, but the decks still are the exact same as they were a full year ago. So why do I say that this ban list will do nothing in terms of the format? Basically, in my opinion, the reason for that is, well, a few things actually. One, Master Rule 5 was announced. So in a big way and in an indirect way, Master Rule 5 in itself is kind of like a ban list. If you guys want to call it Master Rule Revision, whatever you guys want to call it. So Master Rule 5, Master Rule Revision, whatever you guys want to call it. That was in itself a ban list. Because basically what this did is that it allowed other decks that stopped seeing play and stopped being competitively viable in Master Rule 4 to be more viable again. So in a way, they're saying, hey, look, if we don't hit Orcus, it's okay because now you can still play Blackwings and now you can play Synchro Spam. And the reason I say that is because, hey, look, we don't have to hit Orcus anymore. Master Rule 5 will just allow you to play it without Orcus needed to be hit. Now, I'm not saying that they're not going to hit Orcus at all whatsoever, but what I'm going to say is this. If they want, and if Konami's plan is for this ban list to change the format completely, and for people to start playing the newer decks that honestly have been a little bit subpar, they have to do a few things. One, Engage needs to go to 1 or 0. Now, I said this wasn't a ban list prediction video, and I'm not saying this is what's going to happen on the ban list. I'm saying that if Konami wants to change up the format, and if they really want to switch it up completely, than it was the past like year and a half. They have to do this in my opinion. Otherwise, we're going to continue with this Orcus format, Striker format, as well as Salad format until Master Rule 5. And I'm telling you, if that's the case, then we're not going to see any changes until Master Rule 5. So like I said, Engage has to go to 1 or 0. And this is literally because we can't be using it as an engine anymore. So Engage is a Rhoda that's at 3 right now. That also gets you a draw. So that card is insane. It needs to leave just because Striker players, I know it feels bad for them, but the thing is that card has been put into so many decks as an engine that it's not healthy necessarily for the game, right? The last few formats, if you think about it, have been a lot of really good engines put together and becoming the meta. Orcus, for example, is not a big engine. You're playing maybe like what? 10 main deck cards at most, if you're including the spells and traps. You're putting maybe 10 main deck cards and 3 or 4 cards in the extra deck. Like, that's an engine. That's not a deck, right? So basically, like I said, Engage has to go to 1 or 0. I think Galatea has to go to 0. Now, before people fight me on this, yes, I know people have said Babel needs to go to 0, Harpor needs to go to 0, something like that. But if I tell you that Galatea going to 0 doesn't kill a deck, I think that's actually what the best plan is if they want to get rid of the deck. The reason for that is actually because they can keep Babel, but without Galatea, they have no real way to search the Babel or search the Crescendo or search the Return, which means that now Babel and Crescendo and maybe even Return if they want to play it, what will happen is they'll need to play multiple copies, and at that point those cards kind of become bricks. So what happens is it doesn't make those decks unplayable, because I think what Konami wants to do is not make decks unplayable anymore. So by hitting Galatea to 0, I think what they do is they basically make it so that you have to run more quote-unquote bricks in your deck, but the deck will still function, right? Now let's say I draw into a hand of like Babel, Crescendo, Return because I play multiples now. Now those other 2 cards in your hand need to be really good for you to pop off, right? So that's kind of a way where it's like, hey, we can still play Orcus, but it's going to be a lot more fragile than it once was. Also, you guys have seen Striker and Orcus are both getting more support. So this is why I'm thinking that this ban list specifically, like I said before, is not going to impact the game. Because why would Konami hit the decks and make the decks less represented and less playable if they want to sell more product for those decks, right? It doesn't make sense. You wouldn't do that. So that's why I think this ban list specifically will not change much of the metagame. Maybe we have minor hits, Harp Horror to 1, or 2 or something like that. Nightmare to 1, I don't know, something like that. If they hit stuff like that, realistically the deck doesn't change. You can still continue to play Orcus the exact same way. Harp Horror to 2 or 1 instead of 3. okay, you play Scrap Recycler to get into it more often now. Something like that, right? Because people are playing Math right now, and people are playing the Striker engine, of course. So we've said Engage has to go to 1 or 0. Galatea has to go to 0, in my opinion. The other card that I want to say needs to go to 0, funny enough, is Gazelle. Now, there are multiple reasons why I think Gazelle needs to go to 0. Because although we haven't been seeing a lot of Salamangreat and a lot of tops with Salamangreat recently, that's because Striker Orcus is really just running amok, right? But if you get rid of Striker Orcus and you get rid of Striker, Salamangreat automatically becomes one of the better decks. I mean, along with Thunder Dragon, but we'll get to Thunder Dragon soon enough. So basically, Salamangreat Gazelle needs to go to 0, in my opinion, because if this happens, you can still play Salad. The only thing is now you have to be more reliant on traps, and it becomes a trap-based deck. Now, does that make it unplayable? Not at all. That makes it very still playable. If you think about it right now, the best Salamangreat builds are playing the standard like Salamangreat package and a bunch of trap cards. So basically without Gazelle, it just takes away your ability to search and dump one of your trap cards to your graveyard. On top of that, Gazelle does so much other things for you, like Gazelle being able to special summon itself, being able to send like a spinny if you like quote unquote brick, or if you open a trap card. It does so many other things for you, which is why I think that card needs to go to 0. Because now if you hit the Gazelle and you hit the card that essentially searches, like I know it doesn't technically search, but you know, it'll dump it and you'll get it back to your hand, right? So if you hit the card that searches the trap cards, now what's going to happen is Salamangreat players are going to be forced to play more of those trap cards. And again, what happens if a Salamangreat player opens Double Roar, a Rage, and like a Strike, but doesn't open a Salamangreat card? Now these roars are not as playable, right? So that's my whole point, where hitting Gazelle to 0 doesn't make Salamangreat unplayable, it just makes it a more fragile deck. So in my opinion, these hits so far that we've mentioned, Engage to 1 or 0, Galatea to 0, Gazelle to 0, will balance these decks to the point where other decks are still playable, and other decks will actually start to see rise in the meta until Master Rule 5. Now again, like I said in the beginning of the video, this is not a prediction video, and what I'm saying right now is not likely to happen, even if I'm going to be completely honest with you. But these changes are the only way that this ban list will actually be relevant and effective, right? Because right now, I think this next ban list will not have an effect on the game at all. The next card I wanted to talk about is Colossus. Yes, Thunder Dragon Colossus. Now, the thing is with Thunder Dragon Colossus and Thunder Dragon in general is it's not seeing a lot of play, right? It's not seeing the most competitive play. I know Jesse Cotton has a really cool build, but of course, without prize cards, not a lot of people can afford that. So basically, Thunder Dragon itself is not seeing that much play, but Colossus, in my opinion, still needs to go to 1. Now, we all know the obvious thing is because Master Rule 5 makes Colossus broken, it makes Thunder Dragon broken with Claw Thief and whatnot, so we need to hit Colossus to 1 before Master Rule 5. We don't necessarily need to hit it on this ban list, though, because Master Rule 5 doesn't start till April, right? And if a ban list comes out now, our next ban list will be probably like middle of April. Meaning that Thunder Dragon could get hit later and not hit right now. The thing is, Colossus I feel like needs to go to 1 right now if they want to make dramatic changes, because again, what happens if Striker Orcus, Striker, Salamangreat all get hit on the ban list? Thunder Dragon just becomes the next best deck. So what's going to keep happening is there's clearly a top 4, top 5 decks in the game right now, and then there's a bunch of like 5 to 10 are just the same level, right? You would say Striker Orcus, Salamangreat, Striker, Thunder Dragon, and then even like that's top 4, and then 6 to 10 are all like the same level. So in my opinion, what you have to do is you have to hit these top 4 decks where the bottom 6 decks in the top 10 are all kind of the same level, and now they rise. Now if you don't hit these top 4 decks, which I'm saying Thunder Dragon is the 4th best deck, if you don't hit Thunder Dragon, it just rises to the 1st best deck, better than the other ones, and then you have Thunder Dragon and a bunch of tier 2 decks, right? Which you don't really want in the meta, because that makes the meta kind of like iffy and people don't really want to play too much if it's a tier 1. Because if there's only one tier 1 deck, it essentially becomes a tier 0 deck because it's the best deck, like, for sure. So that's why we want to hit Thunder Dragon Colossus, in my opinion, to 1. Hitting it to 1 makes it so that if I get rid of it and you don't have your Thunder Dragon Fusion right away, then it's kind of stuck in your graveyard and you're not getting it back. So I think those are the changes that need to be addressed. Definitely need to be addressed. I think Engage needs to go to 0. I think Galatea needs to go to 0. Now don't hit Dingirsu, trust me. I think Dingirsu's collateral damage if you hit it, because a lot of decks that can make rank 8s want to make Dingirsu. So I think Galatea to 0. I think Salamangreat Gazelle to 0. And I think Colossus is 0. Those 4 hits are the only way that this ban list changes the game drastically. Otherwise, this ban list will have no real effect on the game, in my opinion, and this ban list doesn't really even matter. A lot of people have been waiting on this ban list, and mostly because they've been dealing with the same format for the past year, year and a half. But the thing is, with Master Rule 5's announcement now, and the fact that we know Master Rule 5 is going to be coming along, or Master Rule Revision, whatever you guys want to call it, it doesn't really matter how much our format will change, because we know the format and the game itself will be changing come April 1st. Assuming it's also not an April Fool's joke. So long story short, I don't know if I want to talk about cards that can come off the list. I think Terraforming can come off the list, if I'm being completely honest with you. But if Terraforming comes off the list, I think something like Diagram maybe needs to go to 1 or 2. and something like Hidden City needs to go to 1 or 2, because Hidden City could get really broken and Guru Control could get really, really good. So maybe if Terraforming comes off the list, we need to hit some of the more problematic field spells, not to mention Mystic Mind. Mystic Mind needs to get out of the game if Terraforming comes back to more than 1, right? So it depends on what Konami's goal with this ban list is, and it depends on where they want to take this next 4 months or 3 to 4 months until April 1st. Because realistically, guys, 3 to 4 months is not a very long time, and Konami making drastic changes now is kind of unlikely because there's going to be really big drastic changes again come April 1st, right? So why would they want to make 2 really big dramatic changes in the game? Because that makes it really hard for players to follow, especially the newer players. People like me have been playing this game for a long time, and I know this game, and it changes quick and it changes fast, and I can kind of catch up and get up to speed. But a lot of the newer players will be like, oh my god, okay, so what do I do now? What's the best deck? I invested in this. How do I invest? Whatever. So it becomes a little bit more difficult for them, and I think Konami wants to avoid that. So in my opinion, to conclude this video, I don't think this ban list will mean anything. I literally do not think it means shit. It will not change anything in the game. It's going to be the most minor of changes. If anything, it'd be cool to see cards come off the list, but there is nothing going to be coming on the list. Trust me, nothing necessarily, in my opinion, is going to change this format unless Konami does something similar to or what I basically said in this video. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed the new background, by the way, I know there's a couple open spots still. We'll talk about this in another video, but I am in my new studio right now, which we will talk about and we'll get into a little bit later. Thank you guys for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, share the video if you guys honestly are on the same page with me, and let me know in the comment section down below if you guys think that Konami is going to make these kind of big changes, or you think they're just going to drop a really small ban list just to, you know, please the audience and please us players for the next 3 months until Master Rule 5, right? So we don't know what they're going to do. Tell me what you guys think they're going to do. With that, guys, Spanko signing out. Peace.
My hands steady, I feel ready, but my legs heavy, I don't get it. How come I haven't hit it already? Still working, I'm still learning, I'm still searching, finally earning something, finally turning something called a profit. If I hear you talking shit, don't get caught in it. I'll be popping off and hit your ass, dropping all your shit. Yeah, I promise this, I got promises, you ain't stopping this, cross my shit.